Hello, my dear students. In the previous class, we were discussing solid state chemistry. In solid state, we have completed some basic concepts, symmetry in a unit cell, and Miller indices. In today's class, I am going to discuss X-ray crystallography technique. Dear students, this X-ray crystallographic technique, it is used to identify the structure of a crystal. As you know, while discussing the unit cell, the type of unit cell, so we are going to tell the exactly it is a body centered unit cell, face centered unit cell, and simple cubic unit cell. And we also learn about Bravais lattices 7 crystal system. So how one can able to identify the different crystal system. So how we are exactly telling that it is a simple cubic, it is BCC and FCC. So it is possible with the help of an instrument, it is called as X-ray diffractometer. So X-ray diffractometer, it is an instrument, it is used to determine the structure of a crystal, the nature of an unit cell. And in this X-ray, it reveals the structure. And why we are going to use X-ray here? So before going to understand, so there are two important things. One is here we are going to use X-ray radiation as a radiation source. So we are passing the radiation source through a crystalline sample. Then we are going to measure the intensity of outcoming radiation. Thereby we are going to study the properties. Diffraction, why it is called as diffractometer? So when you pass X-ray radiation through this crystal, diffraction takes place. That means the bending of light around the edges of an obstacle, it is called as diffraction. And the substance which causes diffraction is called as diffraction grating. So here the single crystalline substance act as a diffraction grating material. That is, these are the material so through which the light is passing and bending around the obstacles takes place. So this is called as diffraction grating. And among many electromagnetic radiation, we prefer X-ray radiation because the wavelength of X-ray radiation, it is comparable with a dimension of an atom. For example, the X-ray radiation of wavelength, it is around 10 to the power of minus 8 centimeter or 1 angstrom. And this size is similar to that of the dimension of an atom, the distance between the two atoms in a crystal. So that's why we prefer X-ray radiations. And the basic principle of this X-ray crystallography is, while discussing Miller indices, we studied that there are different crystal lattice planes which is present in a unit cell. That means the atoms or the constituent particle located at different parts of a unit cell, they form a plane which are passing through a different crystallographic axis. So these are called as crystalline plane. And we also mathematically indicated the crystalline plane by using Miller indices. So Miller indices is a vector representation of our various planes in the crystal we understood in the previous class. So the crystal has different plane which is located at different position in a unit cell. So if you pass X-ray radiation to these unit cells having different planes, so different plane diffract the light at different angle. So these diffracting angle is measured by using some instrument. So this diffracting angle, it is the basis for identification of a structure of a crystal. So this is a experimental arrangement of X-ray crystallography. So this is the X-ray beam. So this X-ray beam which is passed on through the crystal, and through the crystal, due to the different planes oriented in the different directions, so we are going to get angles, different angles. These angles can be identified using a detector, and the diffraction pattern can be recorded by using photoelectric plate. So this is a photoelectric plate. This is the photoelectric plate in which the diffraction pattern of a light can be recorded here. And as I said, so this X-ray crystallography, it gives a diffracting angle, and there is a relationship between diffracting angle and the interplanar distance. So you know there are different planes in the crystal, and between each plane they are separated by some equal distance. So there is a relationship between the interplanar distance and diffracting angle theta. So this relationship can be mathematically obtained with the help of Bragg's law. So that's why before going to understand how we are going to determine the structure by using X-ray crystallography instrument, we must know Bragg's law, because Bragg's law is works, X-ray crystallography works on the principle of Bragg's law. So the Bragg's law is given by, so Bragg's law. So this Bragg's law, which mainly gives the mathematical relationship between interatomic distance, interplanar distance, and diffraction pattern or diffraction angle. So let us consider. So we know that a crystal is made by a different plane. So let us consider a crystal in which the atoms are arranged in a different planes. Then to the different planes we are passing X-ray radiations. These are the two beams, beam 1 and beam 2. These beam of radiation which are passes through the crystal and reflects when it is incident on the particular atom. Here let us consider two beams, beam 1 and beam 2. In both the beam do not travel at the same distance. The beam 2 traveled more compared to the beam 1. So here reflection takes place when these X-ray beam are incident or passing through the crystal and incident on the atom which is present in the different plane. So for example, this is a first plane, this is a second plane, second layer, first layer, second layer. So different layer it reflects. So according to Bragg's, the X-ray diffraction from the atom in a crystal plane obeys laws of reflection. Laws of reflection means the angle of incidence is equal to the angle of reflection. For example, if you consider here, okay, this is the angle of incidence, this is the angle of reflection. The angle of reflection is equal to angle of incidence. So this is called as law of reflection. So according to Bragg, so these diffraction, when you pass X-ray radiation through the crystalline sample, so the reflection which obeys the laws of reflection, and the two rays which are reflected after passing through the crystal, the one beam passes more distance compared to another. Here you can observe beam 1 and beam 2. Beam 2 passes more distance compared to beam 1. So the beam 2 propagates some extra distance. It travels some extra distance. The extra distance which is traveled by the beam 2, it is an integral multiple of wavelength. So this is the law. That is, so here we are going to calculate this extra distance. So if we know how this extra distance is related to wavelength, so this can be understood through derivation. Dear students, Bragg's law is very simple. So it mainly tells two important things, that is, so when we pass X-ray radiation through the crystals, reflection takes place. So it obeys laws of reflection. That means the angle of incidence is equal to angle of reflection. Second thing is, so compared to wave 1 and wave 2 travel more distance. The extra distance which is traveled by the second beam is equal to integral multiple of wavelength. So now let us derive this expression. So let us consider there are two plane and two beams, beam 1 and beam 2, which is passes through the different planes of the crystal, and Z and B is the point of incident. So through this point reflection takes place, and theta be the angle of reflection and theta be the angle of incidence, both are same. So now compared to beam 1 and beam 2 travel more distance. The extra distance which is traveled is nothing but AB. You look at this distance, AB and BC. These are the extra distance. That is, so from year to year, so these are same. Okay, that is, observe the figure, dear students. These are same distance, but this is the extra distance. From AB plus BC, this is the extra distance. It is traveled by the second wave. So these extra distance traveled by the second wave, so according to Bragg's equation, is equal to n lambda, integral multiple of lambda. Why he called as integral multiple of lambda? Because you just observe here. Okay, so we know the wave motion. Okay, wave motion, that is the waves is moving like this. Okay, if it is a radiation, the waves are moving like this. So these are waves. So this is how, this is a wave. So you know wavelength. So wavelength is nothing but it's the distance between consecutive trough and crust, that is from year to year, this distance. So this is called as, or from year to year, okay, consecutive trough or crust, it is called as wavelength. So here, if you consider here, from year to year, it is one wave and two waves. That is, so there are number of waves which is involved in this distance. So that's why he called as this extra distance is traveled must be is equal to some integral part of integral multiple of wavelength. Integral n may be 1, 2, 3 like that. It depends on the order, that is it is depends on the order of the plane. And here in this figure here, D is nothing but this is the interplanar distance. Interplanar distance, that is distance between two plane, it is called as D here. So we know that n lambda is equal to AB plus BC. So we understood now. So we understood. So why AB plus BC, that is this extra distance is equal to n lambda. N is the number of waves. For example, in this diagram, there are two waves are present. So is equal to 2 lambda. But so in some cases, 3 are involved. Suppose if it is traveled in another plane, at that moment the number of waves maybe increases. So it is depends on what? It is depends on the number of planes which is passing. So that's why we are going to use n. N means it is an integral number. So it is the number of waves which is involved. So in this extra distance, that's why we have considered n lambda is equal to AB plus BC. So in the next, so we understood that. So how n lambda is equal to AB plus BC, that is the extra distance which is traveled by the second wave is equal to some integral multiple of so wavelength, that is n lambda. So now we also know that from the figure the distance AB is equal to the distance BC. Then if you substitute the value in the above equation, so the equation 1 becomes, so n lambda is equal to 2AB because the AB is equal to BC from the figure. Then let us consider triangle, right angle triangle AZB or ABZ. So in that triangle, let us consider sine theta. So you know sine theta. Sine theta is equal to opposite by hypotenuse. So here, what is the opposite here? So this is a theta. So here opposite to theta is AB. AB. So divided by hypotenuse is nothing but ZB. But we know that ZB is the hypotenuse and AB is the opposite. But this ZB is nothing but this is D. Oh, look at here. So this D, this interplanar distance is equal to ZB in a triangle. That's why I have taken sine theta is equal to AB divided by D. So because D is nothing but this is ZB. So now I can written as, so AB is equal to D sine theta, because we know that sine theta is equal to opposite, that is AB divided by hypotenuse ZB, and ZB is the interplanar distance D, so that's why I put D here. Then if I simplify this equation, I am going to get AB is equal to D sine theta, and we also know the value of AB. So from the figure, this AB is equal to what? This AB is equal to, so n lambda is equal to 2AB. Then the AB is equal to what? So n lambda divided by 2. Then if you substitute, or if you substitute directly, or if you substitute the value of AB, so in this equation, so you will get, so n lambda is equal to 2D sine theta, because we know n lambda is equal to 2AB from the equation 2. And we know the value of AB from the figure we derived by taking the right angle triangle AZB. Dear student, you must know how ZB is equal to D, because ZB, this distance is nothing but interplanar distance D we consider while deriving. So if you substitute the value of AB is equal to D sine theta in the equation 2, so we are going to get n lambda is equal to 2D sine theta. So this equation is called as Bragg's law equation, and this equation further it is used to determine the interplanar distance, because the interplanar distance decides the nature of a unit cell. So based on the interplanar distance along different axes, so we can predict whether it is simple cubic, body centered or face centered unit cell. So this interplanar distance is the characteristic property of a unit cell. So this can be identified with the help of this X-ray crystallography. Dear students, in this experiment, n lambda is is the wavelength of X-ray radiation, and theta is the diffracting angle. So this diffracting angle can be identified with the help of X-ray spectrometer. So now let us see the determination of the structure of NaCl by using rotating crystal method. X-ray spectrometer or X-ray diffractometer. So this X-ray diffractometer, as I said, it is used to identify the diffracting angle. So if you know the diffractive angle, you can easily calculate D. So it can be performed by two methods. One is the rotating crystal method and powder method. Dear student, as I said, X-ray crystallography or X-ray spectrometer, both are same. So the X-ray spectrometer, it's a device. By using, so there are two methods through which we can determine the structure of a crystal. One is rotating crystal method and powder method. So now I am going to discuss rotating crystal method. You just observe the figure. Okay, rotating crystal method. So from here we are going to passing X-ray radiations. a monochromatic beam, and this is a slit. So this slit again further filter, and it passes as a wavelength, a radiations of single wavelength, that is a monochromatic light. This is, so that is the function of slit. So this is a crystal. This is a single crystal sample which we are placed on a rotating table. So this is called as rotating table. Okay, this table. So as soon as you pass the radiation, we start to rotate this table. So why we are going to rotate this table? Because so this crystal has different plane. So we have to pass the radiation to different planes which is present in a unit cell. So in order to pass the radiation different plane, so that's why we are going to rotate the crystal. So in order to rotate the crystal, so these radiation which is diffract on different planes, we are allow the radiation into different plane, because if you are not rotate at that moment, the radiation which is passes, which is diffract only through one particular plane. But if you rotate by using a small angle, so diffraction takes place at different planes and it gives different angle. So that's why we are going to place this crystal on a rotating table. It rotates along 3 directions. So next, the outcoming radiation from the crystal, the diffracted beam from the crystal, so can be recorded by using a detector, and so the diffracting angle can be calculated by using detector. So this is the instrumental setup of rotating crystal method. So now let us see the experimental procedure. So in this experiment we are going to pass the radiations. So as soon as we pass the radiations, so we are going to determine theta, that is the angle of diffraction. So in along 3 different plane. That means, so once if you pass the radiation, we are start to simultaneously we are going to rotate the table. As soon as we rotate the table, what happens? This radiation, it is passes through different plane, and we are going to get different angle of diffraction. So we are going to get different angle of diffraction. So here the lowest angle at which maximum reflection takes place occur at n is equal to 1. So this is called as first order reflection. So while discussing Bragg's law, there are different layers, first layer, second layer of atoms which is located in a crystal. So when the radiation which is incident on the first row and reflects, so maximum reflection takes place. So this is called as the first order reflection, n is equal to 1. So if it is passes from the second, so this is n is equal to 2. So this is a second order reflection. So now we are going to identify the value of theta. So we know that from the Bragg equation, n lambda is equal to 2d sin theta. 2d sin theta. So now we know the value of theta. We identified experimentally by using X-ray spectrometer, and this is 2d sin theta. N lambda is the wavelength of radiation which we receive. We already know this. N is the order of reflections. So now we know the value of n, we know the value of lambda, and we know the value of theta. So we have to calculate this d, interplanar distance. So d is equal to what? So this d is equal to, if you simplify this, so n lambda is equal to 2d sin theta, then this d is equal to n lambda divided by sin theta. So you know the value of sin theta in of different planes. Okay, from the experiments we have got the diffracting angle, so 5.90, 8.4, 5.2. So these are the diffracting angle we are obtained in a different crystalline plane. So now if you substitute the value of theta in this equation, so here n is equal to 1. Generally we are considering the reflection in the first order, in the first plane. So n is equal to 1. So if you substitute the value in this equation, it becomes n lambda divided by 2 sin 5.9. So 2 sine 8.4 degree and lambda divided by 2 sine of 5.2 degree. So if you simplify this equation, so we are going to get, so in everywhere 2 is there, that's why common term get cancelled. And so after substituting the value of lambda and simplifying, so we are going to get the ratio. This is the interplanar distance ratio. The ratio is 1 is to 0.705 is to 1.138. So this is the value of D, interplanar distance of different planes obtained in the experiment. So this ratio, it is coincides, it is comparable with the ratio of the face centered unit cells of a sodium crystal. So it confirms, so the given sodium chloride has face centered cube, so that's why NaCl has FCC structure. So dear student, it is very simple. So in this experiment, we are going to take the single crystal, we are placed on a rotating table, we are passing X-ray radiations. So when you pass X-ray radiation and rotating the table, so we are going to get theta, diffracting angle of different planes. Then we are going to, by using diffracting angle, we are going to substitute the diffracting angle in the Bragg's equation. So if you substitute the value in the Bragg's equation, so you will get interplanar distance. So then we are going to take the ratio of interplanar distance. So this is the ratio of interplanar distance. So then we are comparing the ratio of the interplanar distance with a standard value. So after comparing with the standard value, so the value which we obtained in the experiment, it is so similar with the standard value of face centered unit cell. So that's why, so sodium chloride possess FCC structure. So this is how we can identify the structure of a sodium chloride crystal by using rotating crystal method. So in the next class, I am going to discuss crystalline defects.